This is why Looksmaxxing is toxic and a sign of the decline of civilization. I've only been on the Looksmaxxing side of TikTok for 1 week, and it's already completely destroyed whatever's left of my self-esteem. So to those of you who don't know, Looksmaxxing is this manosphere trend that started in the mid-2010s on this website. They call it the org, looksmax.org, where all these guys, these young guys came together to talk about how they can maximize their appearance because they're fully embracing the idea that looks matter more than anything else. And you know, I can be on board with that. That is very true, not just in relationships, but in society. Height plays a role there too, and they recognize that, but there's a tremendous focus on the face because there's like more that can be done about that. And as somebody who is tremendously disadvantaged by height, I think, okay, I've got a great face. That means I don't have to feel so bad. Really, it wasn't so bad at first until I started getting comments and messages telling me, hey, you're a PSL 3.7 out of 8, and you could be an 6 out of 8 at best. And that's basically, PSL is their rating standards for facial attractiveness. And they tell me all my flaws, tell me why I'm not good enough, say, oh, it's not your height, bro, it's your face. What they don't realize is that really hurts because I know that height matters a lot. They may not because they're not in that. And to have somebody tell you that now your face isn't good enough, that just really, really messes you up. And I'm taking it to heart. I'm probably going to start maxing, and I'm going to start trying to get rid of the puffy cheeks. This whole mogging culture, mogging is basically like when someone who's very attractive stands next to someone who's not very attractive, or someone who's very tall stands next to a short person. And it's so like deeply humiliating. Really, it wasn't so bad at first. It's just a big wake-up call, you know? I mean, like, even right now, I'm like sucking my cheeks in. I got these puffy cheeks. I used to think I looked good. I used to think that I was attractive, and that was one of the few things that made me feel, you know, that life was worth living because, yeah, I may be a short manlet, but hey, I'm really good looking, and I've got nice hair and eyes, but nope. Got a negative canthal tilt. I've got puffy cheeks. I mean, I thought social media was bad for my generation back in like 2012 to 2015, but dang, I mean, if I was on TikTok right now at age 19, I would be just completely losing my mind. I would probably have rope maxed years before. That's their term for you know what. They post all this stuff on there that reaffirms the beliefs that looks are everything, height is everything. And I do agree, but man, is it depressing. It is extremely hard to expose myself to constantly. And I'm 28 years old. I can't imagine that as a teenager. And they call these really depressing posts Ropefuel. But this one time I saw a post that was called Hopefuel. It shows this 5'2" guy walking in the mall or whatever, and all these girls in the comments are saying, I don't care, he's hot. And that's great. That is Hopefuel. But at the same time, I see another post where there's a guy, I'll show that here, who's 6'4", and he's not even that attractive. And he's got 800 comments, all from girls drooling over him, offering marriage, saying they want his children. And he just went viral for it just for being tall. And it's just another example of how just being tall is enough for the world to just hand you success on a silver platter. Because if it wasn't for him being tall, he would not have gone viral. I guarantee you. Before we move on, I'd like to address a few final points about this post, starting with some comments. Now this guy, he's fighting the good fight and spreading my message. He says that it's known that taller men have more presence in leadership roles and they have more respect. He'd rather be a 6'4" mid-tier normie than a gigamanlet with a horrible frame. Now this guy's glazing him, telling him he's actually got the face of a Chad Light, and it's like, damn, is there anything that I have that you don't? This guy says all the comments from girls are making him hate women. Can't really blame him for feeling that way, but the creator says, and them reading that is why you won't have a girlfriend. Yeah, right, dude. It's not like every girl he knows in real life is reading his TikTok comments. That's not why. The post disturbed this guy as much as it did me. He says that women value genetics above everything else. It's over for us. Let's reincarnate. Can't say I disagree. The tall guy from the picture responds by gaslighting him, telling him that women don't care about looks and blaming his lack of personality. Easy for you to say, bro, from your position of privilege and dominance. To end on a positive note, there were actually 3 women in the comments that expressed preference for the short guy in the middle. Aside from the fact that there were like 700 other women in the comments saying they wanted the tall guy. So yippee, about 1 in 200 women don't prioritize height over everything else. Oh yeah, that's some real hope fuel. So my hope for Pill and for Looksmaxxing and all that was for these young people to recognize the unfairness of life, recognize how superficial everyone is, and put a light on it and expose it and say, hey, we need to recognize that there is prejudice going on here and become conscious of it so that we can check ourselves, you know? And not live in a state of constant delusion about it, telling ourselves, oh, looks don't matter, it's just personality, blah, 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 and going around gaslighting people who are in the thick of it suffering. But no, that's not what's happening. What's happening is all these young guys are on there worshiping whoever the most attractive guy is. Instead of looking at him and saying, wow, he has a lot of privilege, there is pretty privilege and there's height privilege going on here, and we need to recognize that. Instead, they're feeding into it. They're following them, they're worshiping them, they're filling the comments with, oh, you look so good, oh, you just mogged him, blah, blah, blah. And they're enriching these guys. They're turning them into influencers, and these guys are selling them products that are potentially harmful and toxic. And they're making money off of people's hopes and dreams and insecurities, when in reality, it's mostly just genetics. Like, if you don't have the genetic facial structure to be able to achieve their look just by losing weight or something, but if you don't have that, then no amount of products is going to fix it. And they are feeding off these people like parasites, and I think it's wrong. And so do a lot of other people here on YouTube. Overall, I'm just incredibly disturbed by this whole ordeal. It's deeply unsettling, and it's hard to do content research when you're constantly faced with content that tells you you're not good enough. The reason I think that Looksmaxxing is a sign of the decline of civilization, specifically Western civilization, is that a lot of women have made their standards so high that it has deeply infiltrated the minds of young men to the point where they are going crazy trying to appeal to these women. And because height is the main thing that they're going for, and only like 0.1% of men are tall enough for a lot of these girls, you're going to have a situation where birth rates are skydiving down because these women aren't willing to settle for a guy who's not up to their standard. And you know, I don't blame them. I'm not willing to settle for a girl who's not tall. It kind of gives them a taste of their own medicine, you know? That's how I feel about it. But yeah, women weren't this shallow like a generation ago or 2 generations ago, when they didn't have dating apps and TikTok showing them the best that they could ever have. So they stop having kids, or they all become single mothers, and the kids have a tougher upbringing because these tall, attractive guys are not settling down for some random low-tier Becky. So to achieve these looks, some guys are talking about Softmaxxing, which is just like a healthy lifestyle. But then you got Hardmaxxing, where some guys are just hopeless and they just say, it's over, bro. You're going to have to get surgery. So there's surgery. That's an option. A lot of these people just go straight for hammer maxing. What they call it is bone smashing. And I think you can get the picture. Smashing your bones to reshape your face to make it heal in a different way. And it just doesn't work. And then they tell people to chew this gum, this mastic gum. I used to chew gum all the time to try and quit smoking. And then I realized, hey, I heard this helps you grow your jaw muscles. So I kept doing it. What ended up happening was I actually hurt my jaw to the point where it became a source of chronic pain. And every time I ate anything, it was excruciatingly painful. And the dentist told me that I could cause permanent damage to my jaw if I don't stop. So I stopped. As disturbing as this all is, I do have some hope. I saw a post on TikTok in the Looksmaxxing hashtag where they were showing these pictures of these guys that the Looksmaxxers worship as idols. I'll show it here. Some people were saying stuff like, oh, the only people that think this is attractive are 14-year-old boys and stuff like that. And it was just so reassuring. But yeah, I mean, They want everyone to have hunter eyes with positive canthal tilt, which I don't really have. But the thing is that I see all these pictures of celebrities that are considered extremely attractive that I've heard women gush over, like Pete Hegseth. He's got a negative canthal tilt, and he's considered very attractive, and not just for his height either. Then there's Brad Pitt. He has a negative canthal tilt a lot of the time. I mean, you can get a positive one by going like that, but then your chin goes down. So there's plenty of guys that are super attractive that don't have a positive canthal tilt. And then there's guys that are short that are considered really attractive, like Justin Bieber. To these young men, there's only one standard of beauty that's considered attractive, and that's this Chad face, the Superman chin. And I've felt that before too, but through my life experience, I've realized that a lot of women have a different standard for facial beauty, and a lot of women like pretty boys, you know, like Justin Bieber or me. But if you're not like conventionally attractive, I do not recommend watching Looksmaxxing stuff unless you think that genetically you have the facial structure to be able to achieve that look just by losing weight or something. If you have any experience with Looksmaxxing, whether it's being disturbed by the whole community like I have, or getting talked down to and told you're not good enough by them, or feeling bad about yourself, or trying it out and having the results be positive, I'd like to hear about it in the comments. So those are my thoughts on Looksmaxxing. And check out my previous video about how the elites want to keep short men poor and weak. Or to put it another way, they want to make poor people shorter and weaker with each generation.